Welcome to Manhwa Peak. Please hit like and subscribe.
The story begins in front of this Korean palace that was placed right in the middle of the city. Today was the last day of the year and a lot of people have gathered in this place for the countdown towards the new year. As it came down to the last 5 seconds of the year, one person emitted this bright blue aura around his body. His face was shown and it was evident that he felt some discomfort. This guy looked at his hands and realized something. And that was when he came back to his previous life. His hands trembled as he figured that this was the same time before humanity got swept away inside a damned game. This individual clenched his fists as he remembered that he had almost cleared the said game. He was already in the 20th round. In his mind, he wished to have the powers to stop the time. Because right now, there's only 2 seconds before the disaster hits their lives. He also recalled what the system showed to him right after dying in his previous life. This right here was his 100th time of using the rune of regression. It had already reached the limit. As the last second of the year reaches, this guy who will be our main character thought that since this seemed to be his last chance for regression, he would surely finish the game. He then prepared himself for what was about to happen. Our MC also thought of the last requirement that he was not able to fulfill on the 20th round of the game. And that was the thing that he needed to bring 4 more people with him. He then started to check his surroundings as he wondered who would be the best people for these roles. Several minutes before the countdown, another individual was shown. This guy was now with his friends. They were also right in the middle of the city and were about to celebrate the new year. And while waiting, one of his friends wondered what he should do after their graduation. This bald guy thought if he could just be a delivery man. The same person then directed the question to his friend. It was then revealed that the name of this guy was Young Min. He smiled as he answered the question. He commented that he plans to be a gangster. His friends heard him and it made them confused. They didn't think that Young Min was really serious about this thing. In Young Min's defense, people only live once, so he should do everything he wants. Uneasiness grew on these guys' faces as they realized that they should keep their distance to Young Min after graduation. Being related to a gangster was never a good thing. The bald guy then asked Young Min what will happen to his personal shuttle after graduation. This question painted the image of a poor and gloomy guy in his mind. Young Min then laughed as he revealed that he will not let his shuttle go even after graduation. His friends joined as they found this really funny. This one even added that he should play with that guy for as long as he wanted. And while they were talking about that shuttle, one of Young Min's friends revealed that he just saw that person. This was the same time that our MC's body was enveloped with this bright light. The same 5 seconds he regressed back to his 100th chance. Young Min smiled and confirmed that his friend was right. But as he stared at the person who he used to bully all their high school days, something felt different. This got Young Min confused. This guy right here was not the same shuttle he knew. Our MC's face now has this more confident look and it seemed like he was more mature. He also dared to stare at Young Min. This one then commented that our MC was really different from his usual self. Young Min got really annoyed as this was the first time that our MC did this. He was about to teach him a lesson, but his friends stopped him. They reminded him that this was now officially the first day of the year and he would have a lot of chances in the future. Their statements made Young Min calm down and he decided that he would let our MC off the hook for today. The 4 of them then continued celebrating as they figured that they were adults now. They also greeted each other with a Happy New Year. But then, a mysterious voice saying that humans were interesting has been heard. The voice claimed that humans dared to celebrate the new year even though they didn't know what situation they were in. And since the mysterious voice has been heard by everyone, they tried looking for the source of it. A majestic creature with white wings and white dress then emerged. This one was also enveloped with this bright light. Her voice also had this soothing effect. This one who looked like an angel then smiled as she felt amused on how humans were acting now. She claimed that for their race, humans were just like monkeys inside their cages. All of the people that have gathered right in the middle of the city were then captivated by the appearance of this mysterious being. They even thought that she was too beautiful. That was the same for all of them except for RMC. He got his gaze on the angel and thought that she had finally appeared. He still hated this scenery even though he had gone through this 99 times. The angel tried stopping herself from laughing, but she just couldn't help it. She then claimed that all of them were trash for having the luxury of being love-struck by her appearance. The angel also added that they should not think about these useless things as she had no plans on being around them for a long time. Her fascination and smile grew more as she figured that since these humans could clearly see her, they should also be able to hear her properly. One of the guys that grew tired of her laugh then shouted towards her and asked for her identity. This guy even mistook her as someone who was just cosplaying as an angel. And while that guy was whining, RMC kept himself quiet. The angel still had the same smile, but this time, she got speechless. Her eyes then turned red and gave this sinister look on her face. She commented that this scene was really annoying. Something then happened to the same guy who was shouting at her a few seconds ago. The head of this one suddenly bursted. The person who was standing beside him got blood all over his clothes. His body also started to tremble. It took them a few seconds before they processed what really happened. A loud scream was then heard along the area. Yo Min was one of the guys who saw what happened and wondered what the hell was that. The angel has spoken again. But this time, her sweet voice was gone. She then warned all of the humans to never dare to speak informally to her mighty self. She also added that these ones didn't have any right to ask any questions. They should also never act arrogantly in front of her, or else they would suffer the same fate as the previous human. The angel then continued her speech while giving the idea that humanity right now belongs to a much inferior race. RMC could only sigh as they reached the part where the angel would explain why these things were now happening to them. With a more bright smile and vibe, she informed everyone that they will now be playing a game from now on. For 20 rounds, on the 1st of every month, their souls will be transported to a new dimension to participate in a game. She etched the idea that this was the only thing that humans would do now. For the next days of their lives, they would be focusing on completing the given quests. If they managed to complete all those quests, they would receive some rewards and would be returned back to the real world. Hearing this made some people confused. They thought that their lives could be spared once they completed the said quests. The angel read the same thoughts that the humans had, and she chuckled as she told them that even if they could complete the quests, not everyone would have the luxury to survive. RMC continued standing there as the mechanics of only half of them being allowed to survive was revealed. He was the only one who had a calm expression. As for all of the people around him, they all felt as if their lives were about to end. The angel continued her speech and suggested that humans should really not need to worry as she won't take all of them. RMC could only sigh in this situation. He had heard this one for 99 times already. It was then revealed that only humans around the world aged between 15 and 29 will participate. And while listening, RMC thought that he never had imagined playing the same game over and over again. Upon hearing the condition, one of the elderly smiled and claimed that he was safe. This action then annoyed the ones whose age group were included in the said game. He claimed that it was just like pouring an oil into the fire. Yo Min then stepped in and stopped them from arguing. He reminded these guys that they should not create any ruckus as they could end up like the guy who died. The wings of the angel then spread out as she claimed that they should now start. She also revealed that the number of participants for the game would be around 1.9 billion. Her face grew more excited as she told the humans that since the explanation was done, they should now proceed into the game proper. The whole area was then enveloped by this white light. Everything vanished. Except for the bodies of the participants. RMC was clearly included. The angel then revealed that the participants had just entered a place called individual spaces where they were the only ones who could see it. She then instructed everyone to shape their bodies so they could be prepared for the soul transfer. This phase right here was just like how players customizes their characters that will be inside the game. They only have one chance to do this, so they really need to choose wisely. As for RMC, he thought that he would be choosing the same thing he had last regression. The looks and characteristics of his previous avatar were now being chosen. Even his nickname inside the game was the game. And it was Black Scythe. A few seconds after completing the customization, players were transferred to a whole new place. This one was an open field. The avatars of the participants slowly materialized. This right here was the same look that our MC has chosen over and over again. He now had this black hair and crimson red eyes. His build was also a lot taller than his real body. This also marked his 100th time inside the game. Since he had the same body from his previous regressions, he felt like this was his real body. He didn't even need to adjust to it. As for the other humans, their avatars also have been transported inside this new world. Some of them were even amazed at how they have customized themselves. RMC observed how these guys have intentionally made their avatars good-looking. But this was one of the mistakes someone could make in the beginning. In this other world, the strong prey on the weak. And if their appearance is too noticeable, it's easier to become a target. And this was a costly mistake because if someone dies in-game, they will also die in real life. RMC's gaze was then shifted to a certain individual who he had been waiting to arrive. And it was none other than Hwang Yong-min, the bully that made his high school life miserable. Black Scythe was a bit disappointed because he had already expected Yong-min to buff himself inside the game. When all the players were transported, the angel appeared once again and greeted them. She also noticed that these humans looked like they got really fond of their new looks. She then got excited as she wondered how these handsome and beautiful faces would turn into after they felt fear and despair. Right now, all of the humans that were in Seoul were transported here. There will also be around 1.8 million people who will be participating, which made other people wonder why they could only see a few of it. The angel laughed as she thought that this was what makes humans inferior. Her mood also shifted as she revealed that this space was not the only one who would cater to all the participants. There were also other angels that were now proceeding with the round. And without further ado, the angel has started explaining more information about this game. Players could access a type of status window as long as they could think of summoning it in their minds. This was an example of what it contains. The one in front of us was the status window of Black Scythe. There's really nothing to be noted here because it was just the beginning of the game. RMC also sighed because all of his max-leveled stats in his previous life were all gone. The angel asked everyone if they had all seen their status windows. She noted that this was a reminder of how trashy they are. And for them to be able to survive till the end and clear the 20 rounds, all they needed to do was to get stronger. If someone could really achieve this feat, the angel revealed that the reward will be anything that they could wish for. On top of that, they will be exempted on the games that will be played. Other people started thinking of the things that they really desire. That reward was really tempting. And to start things off, the angel smiled as she revealed that she prepared a little something for everyone today. The players accessed their inventories and saw something notable. There's now one item that was placed inside. It was a random rune. The angel explained that this rune could only be used once. Players could already use it even if they were just level 1. And this was the only item given to them in the beginning. Players could also consume this item once they thought of the word use in their minds. Yong-min was the first one to use it and his face was amazed by what he saw. The angel then laughed once again as she noticed that some of the players were not pleased with the things that they got from the rune. She then explained that they can't really do anything about it but to accept as this was their luck. And after explaining the runes, she flicked her fingers as they were about to get into the real thing. Light particles started to materialize all over the place. All of the players were then informed by a notification about their first mission. And it was something that was kinda expected for players to encounter at the start of the game. All they needed to do was to kill 100 goblins each. Out of all the participants all over the world, only half of them would be allowed to survive after this round. A few moments later, the first goblin has been summoned. The players saw this and they commented that this really looked like a virtual reality game. This angel then warned everyone that they should not get excited about it. And this was because she just summoned a whole bunch of them in one go. The whole area was starting to get filled with these rays of light. The calmness on their faces then faded. People started to panic as they saw the numbers of the goblins in front of them. With a more sinister expression combined with an ominous aura, the angel has announced the battle between 10,000 humans versus 50,000 goblins. This will be their fight to the death. As soon as the statement ended, the horde of goblins started making their way towards the humans. The speed of these monsters were remarkably fast. Some of the players didn't know how to react. But as most of them started stepping backwards, notable footsteps were heard. Black Scythe has stepped in front of the battle with no fear at all. The people behind our MC then started wondering what this guy was thinking. Facing the goblins head-on was just too dangerous. As the monster drew closer, the calm expression that Black Scythe had was gone and it was replaced with this murderous look. Our MC dashed towards the goblin and performed a powerful kick. Black Scythe has noted that when someone was a part of a group, the first impression was the most important. And what he had done just now made all of these guys shocked. All he wanted to was to imprint the image of his power on their minds. And the best thing to execute this was to defeat the very first goblin. With that powerful kick, the body of the goblin got sent a few meters away. Our MC then picked up the dagger that this monster was holding. In his mind, he really needed to avoid being swarmed by pesky flies, so he needed to show them how strong he is. And aside from that, there's still one more important thing he needed to get. That one was the attention of the angel that was assigned in their group, which right now looked amused on what our MC had displayed. Black Scythe had no other way but to show a bit of a performance in front of everyone. The two goblins that dashed in his way got slashed in an instant. Other players were now wondering if Black Scythe was some kind of a secret agent in real life. They also thought that his nickname was really cool. And since our MC had displayed his strength against the goblins, they got the idea that maybe these monsters were the weakest mobs they could encounter. Some of them became complacent and thought that they could also easily defeat these monsters. But that quickly changed as one goblin had managed to get near this one player. With just one attack, the said weakest mobs managed to take them down. The reality about their situation has finally kicked in. This was really not the part where they could chill and expect that they could easily survive. And while that guy was being killed by the goblin, all the people started to disperse and run for their lives. Our MC got a glimpse of how the others were doing. This scene was one of the things he branded as the greetings of Inferno. At this point, no one would ever mistake this for a game anymore. Right now, there's only one thought on people's minds. And that was the concept of survival. The once carefree humans that dominated the food chain had been turned into preys. The first instinct upon seeing this danger was to run away with no sense of direction. Black Scythe recalled that this was the same mistake he had made the first time. And only after the 2ND regression did he finally manage to face the harsh reality. And that was no matter how fast someone could run, they could never escape this dimension. This lady was not aware that there's this invisible wall that would hinder them from covering more distance from the goblins. She then stopped on her tracks and wondered what she should do next. This situation was also a wake-up call for the modern people. With everything being given to them easily by the use of technology, their instincts of killing other creatures were almost non-existent. Some of them would hesitate on taking their first kill. However, having second thoughts inside this game would be proven to be fatal. Because it could give the monsters the smallest chance to turn things around and have their counterattacks. A few minutes have passed and some of the humans have exceeded their limitations. But they were still in a dire situation. The angel continued watching the fight with amusement. She claimed that goblins may be just the size of a human kid, but players would still have a hard time killing them, especially when they come in swarms and armed with daggers. But as most of the people were struggling, a certain individual caught her attention. And that was Black Scythe. This made her wonder what's the deal with this human. The angel then checked his progress and found out that our MC had already killed 70 goblins. It then annoyed her because the system could only show the progress of this player to her. Nothing more, nothing less. But she decided to let this matter go as she didn't expect that some of the mirror humans would have a noble like her be interested in watching over them. The battle against these monsters continued. And every time a player defeats one goblin, they would gain experience points and golds, which would eventually make them level up. As for RMC's progress, he has now killed 75 goblins. And he continued to show his remarkable skills while dodging all of the goblins' weapons. Another horde was now rushing towards him. But every single one of them just met a quick and powerful thrust from Blackside's dagger. This guy's hand was now tainted by the blood of the monsters, which made some of them hesitate from attacking and approaching him. But our MC didn't show any mercy and continued the onslaught. One attack was enough to defeat them. His eyes grew more intimidating as he looked for more goblins to slay. This was also the time when Blackscythe had noticed that the goblins were backing out against him. And since no one was attacking him, he thought he could use this time to take a breather first. He checked his status window once again and revealed that he was now level 4. He also has 6 extra stat points. Players would receive 2 extra stat points when they level up. And our MC allotted all of it towards his agility stat. And that was because this stat would not only raise his dodge rate but also increase his attack and movement speed. Nothing's more important than agility in the beginning. After that, Blackscythe thought that with this kind of progress, he would surely get the attention of the angel now. He wondered how he should end the first mission. One circling dagger was then thrown and landed on one of the goblins. Our MC addressed the goblins once again and asked if they would really not come at him. This provocation proved not to be effective as the goblins were still not moving on their positions. Blackscythe sighed as he realized this. He knew that he had really no other choice. But in a swift movement, our MC vanished from his position. This guy had already traveled the distance across this group of goblins just to get the dagger he threw on this one. These monsters took them a few seconds to realize what happened. But as they turned around, they were met with this devastating round slash. All of them were cut in half. Killing the group of goblins has sealed the deal for our MC. He leveled up once again. The system also notified him that he just finished the requirement for the first mission. A ray of golden light then surrounded Blackscythe. This confirmed that he was done. Our MC thought that the first round has always been this easy. All he needed to do was to exert additional effort to get the attention of the angel. After that, he was congratulated by the system for being the first one and completing the quest in their given zone. Blackscythe also got first place across all the zones. His total time was 10 minutes and 21 seconds. This guy had this satisfied smile on his face as he managed to get the rank 1 again. This will be proven to be useful because the top 3 players who would finish each mission would get some sort of reward. His reward for being the rank 1 in his given zone was this lowest rank rare weapon selection coupon. As for the reward of ranking first all over the zones, our MC got this special reward selection box. These items would clearly ensure a huge advantage against the other players. And the first one that Blackscythe decided to use was the weapon coupon. The system then showed him a list of following rare weapons in which he could choose from. He then felt ashamed as he was now back on using these low-ranked weapons. But still thankful to have these in the beginning. Our MC then clicked one of the choices. And the weapon that he chose was the stiletto. This weapon was considered to be the best dagger available to beginners. It also has an attack power of 15 and additional agility stat. After receiving the item, our MC threw the dagger he got from the goblins. As for the other reward, he planned on opening it later. And while Blackscythe was busy checking all the rewards he got, the other players were still being hunted by the goblins. Our MC also checked his status window and noticed something different this time. This guy was referring to the title he received earlier called Last Time Regressor. He thought that he had never seen this in the past 99 tries. Back when they were asked to use the rune, RMC had also consumed his. And the rune he got was the rune of regression, which was the same thing he got from the very first time. This was the item that allowed him to reach up to this point. Upon consuming, the rune was immediately imprinted to his body. The only thing that was different now was the error that the rune was receiving. RMC had already expected this because he knew that he couldn't regress infinitely. The rune has also confirmed that this was his 100th regression, which caught the attention of Black Scythe. This was also the time he got the title of Last Time Regressor. In this game, titles are superordinate concepts of runes. Last Time Regressor could only be obtained at the 100th regression of a certain individual, and it would allow the user to stay in soul form for 1 minute. The user could then be resurrected at any desired point in time with his health restored. He then remembered that the skill of resurrection could only be seen as the priest's skill. Even that only restores up to 30% of their health. RMC figured that the title he got this time could really be proven to be useful. And having something like this in his disposal would really help him clear the game this time. Since this title was one of a kind and seemed to be really rare, Black Scythe decided to set it in private. This setting will prevent any other players or beings from seeing this information. RMC stretched out his hands as he figured that the other players that passed the mission should be coming out soon. He also wondered how Young Min was doing. As he searched the area, he saw this guy who luckily was holding on. Black Scythe then figures that Young Min will be surviving this round too. After a few more moments, several golden lights have appeared all throughout the area. The angel was still watching and smirked as she figured why the battlefield felt a little boring for her taste. Turns out, the number of goblins have really decreased as more and more people were able to kill 100 of them. The thrill of fighting a horde of monsters was gone. This holy being then apologized for her mistake. She promised that she would make it more fun again. Hearing her ironic words left the other survivors in tears. They knew that this meant some trouble. Meanwhile, the bodies of the dead players have started fading away. More people have also noticed this, and they wondered why this was happening. And while they were worrying about their friends and comrades, another bright light had been summoned. This was the first time that seeing a golden light didn't mean salvation. Another horde of goblins have started rushing towards the players. Their faces were now filled with fear. These ones were already tired from the previous batch. The angel revealed her maniac face again and told them that she just refilled another 50,000 goblins for these humans to feast. Since they really didn't have any choice but to fight, the remaining players met them head-on. The peaceful open field soon turned into a bloody one. Monsters did their best to fulfill their role in this mission. But at the same time, players gritted their teeth and found a way to survive. As time passed by, the number of humans who were passing the mission increased. Yo Min was also shown, but this guy used other people to be his shield against the attacks of the goblins. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Another 1,000 participants just passed. And all the while, Black Scythe just sat there and closed his eyes. He was already fed up with this scene. People losing lives had been a common situation as this was his 100th time of playing the game. Once the participants had passed, they were not allowed to help the ones that were still taking the mission. This angel had continued watching this like it was some kind of entertainment. A few moments went by and RMC opened his eyes. This was because they were notified that the whole 5,143 participants had already cleared the mission. There were also these unlucky ones who survived but didn't manage to kill 1,000 goblins. They wondered where all the monsters went. The angel took all of their attention as she announced that the quest was completed. She then started apologizing to the unlucky ones as what was about to happen next was purely the rules of the game. Their bodies started fading as well. These guys were bound to die. Some begged for another chance as they only needed a few more goblins to kill. But their pleas were not heard. This holy being clapped her hands as the first round of the games concluded. She told the ones who survived that they should all be happy because they passed. She chuckled as she congratulated the remaining humans. She also wished them best of luck towards the next mission. Before the players could leave, the results of the mission were shown. The one who got first place was RMC. As for the other players, they all have some interesting nicknames. The system announced the achievement of Black Scythe. Another 1,000 gold will also be given to him aside from the 2 earlier rewards. RMC received the gold and it informed him that he could use the currency on buying some items once he reached level 10. He also noticed that there were now more eyes that became wary of his presence. And that was really his plan. He wanted to show everyone that he's in the first place. The angel then butted in and commented that she had never expected that the one who'll be ranked first will be inside her zone. She then addressed Black Scythe and wanted him to answer her question. This holy being asked how he became this strong and inquired if he received a powerful rune. But before she could finish her question, she stopped herself and figured that this question was a mistake. Black Scythe then teased her and asked if she could see his rune by looking at his status window. The angel panicked and then lied about this information. She pretended that she could also see the rune that RMC received. But the only one who knew that this was just an alibi was this guy who just smiled at her and didn't answer her questions. And to turn things around, Black Scythe got her attention and asked for a favor. This situation was now becoming more unpredictable towards the angel. She had no idea that this man had lived in the same situations 99 times. RMC then held his head up high as he revealed his dissatisfaction towards the reward he got from getting the first place of this mission. He commented that they were too stingy. This statement shocked everyone that was around him. They didn't expect someone would even dare to ask for more rewards in front of this merciless angel. And as expected, the mood of the angel turned sour as she asked RMC what he just said. But this scene didn't intimidate Black Scythe even for just a bit. He even complied and repeated the same words he said a while ago. He would like to have better rewards. RMC's smug attitude was slowly getting on the nerves of this angel. But as everyone was already panicking in the back of their minds, these two just stared at each other. As for this angel, she wondered if this human was already underestimating her just because he ranked first in this mission. She can't accept the fact that a mere human dared to ask her some demands. She then raised her hand as she planned to blow him up. But she stopped as she remembered that she just used that authority previously. This means that she will not be able to kill RMC. Another idea came into her mind as she was staring at Black Scythe. She knew that this should be enough to get rid of him. The angel then slowly approached RMC while repeating his demands. She even descended and walked on the ground. She explained that usually, things like that would be rejected right away. But she informed Black Scythe that she would think about it. And that would require them to talk in private. Other humans could wait for them until they came back. As they walked further away from the others, some of them commended Black Scythe. His negotiation really worked with an angel. They now wondered what kind of rewards he will be getting next. And among the people who stared at RMC's back was Young Min. This guy felt the gaze and returned the favor. This confused Young Min and wondered if there's something he was not getting. But then, RMC continued walking while having this grin on his face. Meanwhile, these two have already covered considerable distance away from the other participants. They were now inside the forest. The angel then commanded RMC that he should walk closer to her since she was getting tired of checking if he was still with her. In the back of her mind, she was already belittling the humans. She thought that this race needed to be yelled at before they understood things. She also branded them as greedy and stupid. And while walking, she thought that there's really nothing she could do about the rewards because she was not even the one who set them. And since she thought that Black Scythe had become too greedy, she planned to teach her a lesson. Right behind that rock was the place where the system couldn't detect them. So she wanted to kill him when they reached that point. The angel knew that there would be consequences if the higher-ups found out that she killed one of the participants because of her personal reasons. But right now, she was just too annoyed not to act. And to make sure that this will really be a flawless plan, she isolated RMC so there will be no witness. This angel had this maniac smile as she was getting too excited. She thought that this human should have just kept quiet. She then turned around to check our MC. She also asked what kind of rewards he was hoping to get. But as she fixed her gaze towards Black Scythe, all she saw was a fist heading at an extreme speed towards her face. And the satisfying punch has landed. Fair and square. This was the kind of main protagonist I was waiting for. No matter if you are an angel or even a god, those who showed a bitchy attitude should be taught a lesson. This holy being turned into holy shit in an instant.